Hello everybody, Theo Clarke here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Google Shopping optimization. Now, having audited hundreds of ecom businesses by this point and also consulted hundreds of media buyers, I typically see four different things or four key pillars that people seem to neglect when it comes to Google Shopping optimization. So let's start with the common mistakes and work our way up. Common mistakes when it comes to Google Shopping: ignoring negative keywords, poorly structured campaigns, which we're going to discuss here in segmentation and structure, infrequent optimization, and mobile optimization. So let's start with negative keywords. A lot of the time I'll see people set up shopping campaigns and they're not paying attention to the search terms that they're showing for and adding search terms as negative keywords. So you need to regularly update your negative keywords and make sure you're not wasting any spend on search terms that are not converting, but furthermore, also potentially setting up a two-tiered campaign structure and bidding more for search terms that have proven to convert. And we'll speak a bit more on that in segmentation and structure. Now, when it comes to poorly structured campaigns, obviously segmentation is going to be very, very important, which again, I'm going to speak on more in above. But you want to make sure that your product groups aren't necessarily overlapping. Okay, so when you do set up your campaigns, if you are segmenting by ad group, make sure that each ad group has reasoning behind creating that particular ad group. Okay, so whether maybe you're segmenting by KPIs, product groups, product categories, and things like that, just make sure that the segmentation, there's clear guidelines to it. Next, infrequent optimization. Really, you're going to want to be making optimizations. Really, it's going to determine how much you're spending. Okay, if you're spending a lot of money, hundreds of pounds every single day or hundreds of dollars a day, then you're going to need to regularly optimize your search terms and your shopping campaigns. Whereas if you're just getting started and maybe spending 20 to 30 pounds a day or 20 to 30 dollars, you probably don't need to optimize quite as often. So you're going to need to zoom out a little bit and take an overview of how much you're spending versus how much you're optimizing. And you're going to want to work through and create almost like a schedule. Okay, so maybe you just want to regularly review your performance once a week or twice a week at the start. Just make sure that you're not showing for any search terms that you shouldn't be, optimizing your negative keyword lists, checking how the performance is, checking where spend is going, whether that be at a campaign, ad group, or product level, and just making regular optimizations. Next is ignoring mobile optimization. So you just want to make sure, most people these days will shop on mobile. Of course, there are exceptions where perhaps you're selling a high ticket product or it's B2B and it's more likely that someone's going to come through the desktop, but just have a look at how your spend is being allocated. And what I mean by that is whether or not people are coming through your ads based on desktop devices or mobile devices, and where relevant, make some bid optimizations, maybe bidding a bit more on mobile or a bit more on desktop depending on performance. And you can see all of that within the devices section at a campaign level. So those are some common mistakes that I see. And the reason I wanted to start with the common mistakes is because that's essentially the low-hanging fruit, right? If you're ignoring all of these things, then segmenting and structuring your campaign or optimizing your product feed isn't ultimately going to make that much of a difference because you're wasting so much opportunity down here. Okay, now segmentation and structure is still important, and we're going to go through that now. So I touched on it briefly a moment ago, but when it comes to segmenting and structuring your campaigns, there's a few different things that you're going to look for. So let's start with campaign structure. Really, you're going to want to segment your campaigns or even your ad groups based on the goal. Okay, so something that we do within our agency, or we recommend the media buyers that we coach to do, is utilize almost like a two-tier or even three-tier structure within shopping. With shopping, as you know, or as you should know, you cannot target search keywords. Instead, Google's going to show your product to for relevant search terms or search terms that it deems to be relevant to the product and the information that you've provided to the product feed, which is why product feed optimization is important. But because you cannot target specific search keywords, we need to essentially use campaign structure as a filter. So within Google Ads, you can set high, mid, and low campaign priority. If you set your campaign priority to high, Google's going to send all of your traffic here. So what you might want to do is segment campaigns based on the goal. Now that might be a KPI goal or a ROAS goal or something like that. But the reason you'd like to do that is because then you can start to optimize your campaigns based on performance, moving products between individual campaigns, either using automations or scripts, or you can just optimize manually with bid adjustments. So you'd have one low priority campaign, one high priority campaign, and you'd essentially adjust your bids using negative keyword lists as a filter to push from the high priority through to the low priority campaign. Now, ad groups, touched on this a moment ago. When it comes to your ad groups, you're probably going to want to create some segmentation within there as well, whether that be by product type, by high ticket items versus low ticket items. Really, you just want to segment your ad groups for ease of management, but also just to get a better understanding of how key ad groups are actually performing. So what we tend to do is create essentially like a waterfall structure. So within your campaign, you have separate ad groups, and then within each ad group, you have separate products. If you do need to have multiple campaigns and utilize a high and low priority, then you can also create that structure as well. Now, we teach all of this inside of the Google Ads Ecom Academy. You can see here we've got a campaign set up and build when it comes to shopping, how to optimize your search terms, ad group waterfall, which is the campaign segmentation we're talking about, negative keyword lists explained, product feed setup, which is coming soon, which will ultimately show you how to set up the feed and optimize it. And then they have the optimization masterclass, which is unlocked once you've completed all of the modules. We've also got a module on Google Search, Display, and PMAX. So if you are interested in having more of a guide on how to do all these things I'm speaking of, then look up the Google Ads Ecom Academy on school. So when it comes to product categorization, again, this is kind of similar to what I'm saying about the ad groups, okay? So you're going to want to use, where necessary, custom labels or group products by similarity or by goal or by product price or by KPI. As to how you choose to do that will be dependent on you and what your goals are and the niche and the campaigns that you're running. Next, geo-targeting. So similar to how we had the device level optimizations, you're going to want to have a look at how you're targeting by region. Now, a lot of people may ship overseas, but they're only advertising maybe in one location, and they've not scaled horizontally because they haven't got proof of concept in one location yet. But as soon as you have proof of concept and you're hitting KPI within one location and you've been able to scale it vertically, then you're going to want to consider scaling horizontally and focusing on other high performing regions. So for example, if you sell in the US, you may also want to sell to the European markets and also the UK. And then you can of course adjust your bids based on location performance, same way that you can with regards to devices. Product feed optimization. Very, very important, okay? The majority of your Google Shopping performance is going to be dictated by how well your product feed is optimized. And what I mean by that is your product titles, your product descriptions, your product attributes, all of these things, okay? So you're going to want to make sure that within your product feed, you're of course using high quality images. Now you may be using Google Merchant Center Direct or a feed management tool such as Simprosys or Data Feed Watch, something like that. Always make sure that your images are of high quality. I think that goes without saying, but on shopping, you're going to be compared against your competitors. Make sure that your product images are of high quality. Pricing, also very important, right? If you have products that are close to your competitors and sometimes you're neck and neck, you want to make sure that your pricing is on point. So you can either do this manually by using the competitors section or competitor tab within Google Merchant Center to see how your products price compared to your competition, or you can use tools such as PriceSync or something like that. Now, again, we run through all of this inside of the school group that we've built, the Google Ads Ecom Academy. We show you how to use tools and automation to essentially dynamically adjust your product pricing based on what your competitors are doing. But pricing is extremely important. Not that you want to make it a pricing war, but it is a variable that needs to be monitored. And then accurate product data. So this falls back to what I was saying about product titles and descriptions. What you can actually do is take your top performing search terms or search terms that you're actually essentially performing well on the shopping network or even on the search. And you want to make sure that these search terms are included in your product titles where relevant, okay? Because clearly these are things that people are searching for. So you're going to want to leverage that data as much as possible in the search terms, in your product titles and your product descriptions, which is going to essentially give you more exposure for relevant keywords, okay? Product description also important, but you want to make sure you have as much information, relevant information in the product title and the product description as possible. Otherwise, what will happen is people will click on your ad, go through to the page and then bounce. That's going to make your metrics look poor and you're essentially just wasting money because remember, Google is an auction and you pay per click. Now, only when you have sorted your common mistakes, segmentation and structure, and also your product feed optimization, would I recommend then starting to play around with bidding strategies. Why do I say that? Well, a bidding strategy isn't necessarily going to make all the difference. It's almost like the icing on the cake. It's the finishing touches, okay? And I wouldn't even recommend an automated bidding strategy on shopping until you're getting at least 1 to 2 conversions a day, okay? So that would be kind of 30 to 50 or 30 to 60 conversions per month or over a 30-day period. Up until that point, I would probably, if it is standard shopping campaigns, just use a manual bidding strategy and work with what you've got. So again, how you decide to bid is going to depend on your niche and what your competitors are doing. But really the dictating factor of what you bid is going to be based on your search impression share. And of course, performance with regards to conversions and things like that. It's going to be entirely dependent on your KPIs. But what I would say is you're going to probably want to use manual up until that point. And then if you do have a good amount of conversion data, then you can potentially look to use an automated bidding strategy. Target ROAS can work quite well on shopping campaigns, but again, maybe you don't want to use target ROAS, maybe you want to use target CPA, but I wouldn't really recommend that for shopping. That's more suited for search. So once you have enough conversion data, then you can look to utilize machine learning and just want to make sure that you're making bid adjustments manually up until the point where you can leverage automated bidding strategies. And then at that point, you can potentially not reduce the amount of optimization you need to do manually, but set up an automated bidding strategy, which is usually ultimately going to allow Google to do this for you. And then you won't need to worry about device level optimizations, location optimizations, and things like that. It will all be included in the automated bidding strategy, but it's a catch-22 because you need to get the data first to then be able to leverage the automated strategies. So that's all for this video. Hopefully this mind map has given you a good insight as to what you need to do to now optimize your shopping campaigns and identified some low-hanging fruit. If you like this video, keep watching for more, and there'll be more videos coming soon. Take care.